is really the fundamental issue which is before the conference. And there are varying views as to how it can best be done. But it is to that central issue that I want our minds to be directed. Now I will, before dealing with more general considerations, refer to some of the arguments which have been used against the proposal of the executive. And if those who agree with the executive don't get much notice taken of them, I ask them to forgive me, because my time will be fully taken up with those who don't agree with the executive. I'm going to insist upon free German elections. It is right that the Soviet Union should know in advance that that is a condition of our agreement. And there really is no practical point. There is no hope if you reopen negotiations without that question is understood. And how long has it been since socialists, social democrats as we sometimes call ourselves, should have any question in their mind that the elementary right of a people of a country, whether Germany or not, to have free democratic elections in which they can say what they like, in which they've got untrammeled freedom to vote for what political party they like, how long has this been a bargaining factor in our minds? Isn't it an elementary point that ought to be accepted by every delegate to this conference? And I want all Germany not only to be unified, but to be free. And I do not forget that in June of 1953, there was a brave and a courageous revolt on the part of the workers of East Germany, which was suppressed by force and which commanded the respect and admiration of every believer of freedom in our country. And I do not want the spread of totalitarianism and the spread of dictatorship. The right of human beings to express their mind and the right of human beings freely to seek a change of government is one of the sacred rights that socialists, above everybody, ought to protect and ought to assume as an elementary condition of any reunification of Germany. Now, it was said by the
Mr. Chairman and fellow delegates, I've been asked to open this debate with a general review of foreign affairs and some account of the impressions that I and my fellow members of the delegation have gained from our visit to Russia and China. Now, that's rather a large order, surveying the world from China to Peru, but we shall concentrate mainly on China. But the whole matter of a contribution to Western defense by Germany is to be the subject of a separate debate, so that does shorten my task a little. I'll try to be as brief and concise as possible, but if I should weary the conference, I've no doubt they'll indicate it in the usual manner. Sam Watson will be winding up and dealing with specific resolutions on the paper. Scientific inventions may well mean the setting back of civilization by many centuries. And we then put forward our belief that there was need for the fullest discussion of this problem at the highest quarters. I wish that that had been followed up. It was not followed up. But we got an invitation to visit China, and we accepted. And I believe we were absolutely right in accepting. One does not disagree. It's so easy to get on with people who agree. One must try and find out just what is in their minds. One must also try to make personal contacts. And subsequently, we received an invitation, which we are very glad to accept, of meeting the leaders of the USSR. I believe that those contacts have been important. And I want to tell you something of what we experienced there and of some of the views that we've formed. But before that, I'd like to review certain other matters that have arisen. First of all, there was the Geneva discussion. Now, that was of very great importance. First, because it settled that dangerous war in Indochina. Secondly, I think it's the first conference that I can recall in which there has been cooperation by the USSR with Great Britain and others to bring about a settlement. And there is no doubt, as we experienced, that that Geneva meeting had meant a relaxation of tension. The tension between the United States of America and China regarded, though I think wrongly, regarded by people in the United States as being completely dominated by the USSR. There's no doubt about that dangerous tension. And that tension comes about from fear on both sides. You may think that the United States get overexcited about the fear of an attack. But you must remember that they have fresh in their minds the events of the last World War, which brought war nearer to them on their Pacific side. There's also, as I've observed, some anxiety in Australia and New Zealand. There is also fear by China, because China regards the USSR. I'm giving their opinion, not mine. They regard the action of the United States, both with regard to Japan, Korea, Formosa, in fact, all round the borders of China, as a threat to China. There you have fear on both sides. Now, I put that point because it was our object to try and clear up as far as we could and understand the position. And it's no good saying that these fears are illusory. They are grave fears. And I mentioned just now the position with regard to the hydrogen bomb. And I'd say a word there on the whole matter of control of atomic warfare, arms reduction, and the rest. They are essential, but they must follow, not precede, political understandings. The history of all disarmament conferences shows that you cannot get, however much you wish it, an effective disarmament unless you have got something like a political settlement at the back of it. Entertained there, and I may say we were also kindly entertained in China. I don't know why some papers thought it was necessary to describe this as junketing. We were naturally given dinners. I don't think it's our habit when foreign visitors come here to take them round to the fish and chip shop. And I can't think that we should improve the position if we had said we will not attend any dinners. That, by the way, that is the kind of prejudice that has been thrown out against our delegation. It's worthwhile making that point. Now, we had the pleasure of meeting the leading members of the USSR. And today, there is no one person, as there was in the days of Mr. Stalin. There are a group of persons in control. And we had very full and frank discussions with them. We tried to show them what the social democratic view was. We heard their view. There's no good blinking the fact that there is this complete difference of ideology. And you yes. I hope, I incline to believe, that with 600 million people to deal with, they want to add to that burden. I pointed out that I had been Prime Minister of a country of 50 million. I certainly shouldn't like to have to deal with 600 million. But you have the Chinese overseas. Overseas, mind you, not necessarily of Chinese expansion, but very often by the demand of Western capitalists for labor. And you have the Chinese spread across Southeast Asia. And therefore, it is vitally important that there should be agreement with regard to China if it can be sought. Let me say one other thing on that, and that is a very disturbing feature. We found the Chinese government considered that an increase of population was in itself desirable in China. Well, we tried to find out why. I think experience shows that in talking with the USSR, you can't rely on very much generosity. They will generally look at the balance of powers. And therefore, the idea that somehow or other you can throw aside all your defenses is, I think, a complete illusion. I think you've got to deal very largely with something in your own hand if you're going to bargain. But I would like to return to the point I made at the start. If we've done anything, we may have done something to relax